Hey, welcome back, everybody. Okay, this is December, and this month we are talking about emotions. And so last week I discussed emotional intelligence and sort of what that means. And, that's the goal. The goal for me is to improve my emotional intelligence as I age, continue to grow that. Um, but the next couple weeks, I'm going to share with you sort of emotions that I continue to struggle with because I do not want you for 1 minute to think that I have this all figured out. But like I said last week, I truly believe that emotions, because they have such an effect on our actions, like what we do from day to day, if we don't understand our emotions and we do not bring more awareness around them and control them, and that doesn't mean not feeling them, okay, not numbing them, just controlling, like not letting them run the show, like run your body, run your life. It can really negatively affect our health because we will make horrible health decisions if we allow our emotions to kind of rule the show. So, think about like emotional eating, or even the opposite side, like working out to the point of hurting yourself. You're trying to deal with, some strong emotions or something and just throwing yourself into a workout that you shouldn't be doing. These are all things that I've done, and it has not gone well. It just hasn't. And so I think it's really important as a coach, as a health, holistic wellness nurse coach, whatever you want to call me. I think this is an important piece of health that honestly often gets overlooked. And so I'm going to bring awareness to it. Welcome. You can listen or not, but I hope you'll stay because I hope that you too will agree that ignoring emotions just honestly doesn't work at all. It makes things worse. So today I want to talk about anxiety. If you're watching on YouTube, which I don't know if anybody does, but I put these up on YouTube anyway, they're there. I just want you to look at my face and realize that this is the face of anxiety. You would never know it by looking at me. And those closest to me, when I'm really in an anxious moment, will say like, wow, I would never know. I am really good at hiding my emotions. I think I had training being a nurse, kind of, you have to just put your emotions to the side. I think also as a mom, same thing. I couldn't, always allow my kids to see my emotions around things. And so I got really good at hiding it, but I struggle with anxiety. It has worsened the older that I've gotten. And it's absolutely worsened since the pandemic hit. It's hard not to be anxious when you look at the news and there's hundreds of thousands of people dying. And then you're on social media and everybody's disagreeing, everybody's arguing, everybody's mad at each other. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. And I also really need control. And so being in the middle of a pandemic, like literally no control. I never had control before that, but I could convince myself that I did. And then the pandemic was like, psych, you literally have no control. So I come from a long line of anxious women. We are the worriers. My grandmother, I remember a very young age, my grandmother being a worrier, talking about worrying about things. My mom is a worrier. I'm a worrier. And unfortunately, I have a couple kids who are worriers. And we have a bend towards anxiety. And what it looks like for me is fear. Actually, it kind of comes out. That's like the emotion. That's like the feeling. Like I just feel fearful of things. And it's a fear really at the core of not being in control. So flying, getting on a plane, I'm not the pilot. So trusting my life with the pilot for some reason has gotten harder and harder. Unknown medical stuff, typically in medical situations, if I know what to anticipate next, I'm fine because I have enough medical knowledge to be like, oh yeah, we're going to be good. It's going to be fine. But there's been some scary stuff that's gone on with Jeffrey, to where we didn't know, when we didn't know what the next step was, or we didn't know if this treatment or that treatment would work. That's when I can really settle into a lot of anxiety. I mean, he's my kid, I don't want him to suffer. And financial worries, lots of anxiety. I will say that the financial piece, because we struggled with finances for a long time, that anxiety is deep, deep. It's been around for a long time. And it's still really hard to get rid of, even though our financial situation is like truly 180 degrees from where it was 5 years ago. I still settle into that anxiety. Like, it's almost like I've learned that that's the way I should respond to finances, is to worry about it or to get anxious about it. And I haven't relearned that I don't need to do that anymore. That I don't need to feel that way anymore, because it's not the same situation, but it's so ingrained that this is absolutely something that I am becoming more and more aware of and working through. Then it also, I have this lack of control. And so I just start to get anxious, and I mean, heart racing, pit sweat, the whole thing. And then my stomach gets upset. So I have IBS. There is the gut brain axis is real. You've got this feedback cycle from your gut to your brain to your gut, keeps going on and on and on. And my anxiety triggers my IBS. So my stomach gets really upset. I get that nervous stomach. I'm running to the bathroom. It is uncomfortable. I feel just like this churning in my stomach, and sometimes actual pain. And years ago, I really won't get into the details around it, but years ago, we were in relationship with somebody that was a master manipulator. That's the only way I can describe him. And I had so much anxiety. It was like my body knew that this person was not good, but my brain was not really getting it. And so I started to have all this anxiety, like it was just building and building and building, to the point where I could barely eat. I ended up losing like 15 pounds. I looked scary. I didn't look good. It wasn't like, oh, wow, I needed to lose that weight. It was too much. And I look back now, and it was that gut brain connection. I was having all this anxiety. It was, in my brain, my stomach was not happy. And I was having significant, I even went and got like evaluated by a GI doctor and had like tests done and stuff, because I just could not eat. My stomach hurt all the time. And sort of once that situation was resolved, my symptoms went away as well. It was a really, really important lesson for me, but I had a lot of anxiety. In that case, I think my emotions were actually trying to be protective of me, because my brain wasn't catching on to what a bad situation, what a bad person we were interacting with. And so eventually, my family was protected, thank God, and he went to jail. So yay. But it was a really difficult time, but also very important for me to kind of look back at that time and realize I've got to honor my emotions more, because there's something underneath. But anyway, I get sick to my stomach, my IBS acts up. I'm unable to make decisions. I feel really frozen in fear, but also there's like this cloudiness that I just feel like I can't make decisions. I can't move forward, and I can't shake it. Like, I'll just be like, I just want to shake off this anxiety. Like, I just want it to go away. It's like so uncomfortable, but I just can't do it. It's like there, it's hanging on. And then because of that discomfort that builds up and builds up and builds up, I have no patience and I lose my temper. And I am a spewer of my emotions if I'm not careful. I'm very much a type 8 on the Enneagram. So just like, raw, like that's us, like just push back, like I'm just going to challenge you. And I will do that when I'm anxious or when I have other emotions that are building up. I just want to kind of get it off of me. And so I will like throw it onto somebody else. And I have to be really careful because it's always the people that are closest to me that end up getting hit, the people that I don't want to be that way, you know? And I mean, there were times, guys, when my kids were little that I responded really poorly, you know, because of my anxiety. And then my kids would do something, right? Like your kids always do something. They would do something that would set me off, and then I would lose it and spew all over them, and they didn't deserve it. And it's interesting now that they're adults, this is conversations that I'm having with them to say like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, do you remember that when you were little? And they're so gracious. They're like, Mom, that was no big deal. I'm like, it kind of was. And it's okay, you know, and if you need to talk to me about it, we can talk about it. Or if you need professional help, I'll pay for that because, you know, nobody's perfect. I was not a perfect mom. I think I did more right than I did wrong at the end of the day. But there were some really not great moments where I let my emotions really run the show in my family and in my own life. And I'm so glad that I've grown to at least be aware when I'm feeling that way and to not spew. And what I do if I'm feeling anxious, you know, and it's starting to really build, is I'll tell my family, I'm really struggling with my anxiety today. I need to like be alone, not talk. Like I get really quiet if I'm allowed to be. And so I'll go for a walk. I'll just get, you know, I just need to be in my own head sort of, and not pulled to do things. Because the closer you get to me, if you kind of disrupt my processing or whatever, I might spew on you. And that is the last thing I want to do, really the last thing. And so for me, you know, working through my anxiety has been really about just being aware and also being able to verbalize. That's a big thing with my family, especially with my husband, being able to say like, I'm really anxious today. He can't fix it. I can't always fix it in the moment, but just him being aware that I'm struggling, or, you know, telling my best friend, hey, Linda, like my anxiety is really bad today. And what's interesting is when I do that, lots of times the response will be like, me too, you know, and then we can sort of talk through that together. Like, why do you think your anxiety is triggered right now? This is what happened with me. And for me, I've also realized a lot of it is social media. And so, but it's not necessarily social media's fault. It is the comparison, you know? So you're looking at the highlight reel, or I am. I'm looking at the highlight reel, especially the holidays, you know, beautiful Thanksgiving pictures and tablescapes and whatever, right? Or Christmas trees, or, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I didn't do all that. And look, they have such a perfect little family. And my family was arguing, or we were in sweatpants all day, which we were, you know, and I will have to stop myself because it is not anybody's fault that they're posting beautiful pictures on social media. You know, I have to be able to say, this is really triggering me. This is making me anxious. This is making me feel less than. This is like, it's not their fault. It's not social media's fault. I mean, social media has problems, but, you know, it's me engaging in that. And so stepping away and being like, whoo, you know what? I spent a lot of time on social media today and now I'm feeling anxious. Probably time to just put my phone away and focus on my family. And when I can do that, when I'm aware of my emotions, when I'm aware of what's triggering me, then I'm able to move through them. And it just makes me such a better human. And I hope those that are closest to me agree. Otherwise, man, I still have a lot of work to do, which I do. We all do. But what's really awesome, I would love for you guys. I found this resource years ago and I just love it, but it's called the Emotions Wheel. If you just Google Emotions Wheel, you'll see a lot of images come up. And what I love about it is it kind of starts with like some basic emotions like mad and sad, and then it moves out to like more specific, more descriptive ones. And so what I try to do when I'm feeling whatever anxious, because that's what we're talking about today, is I try to look at the emotions wheel and really determine even more specifically what I'm feeling, that the anxiety was triggered by, social media, let's say, and, maybe the real underlying emotion is insecurity. Like I'm not feeling as secure about, my family or my marriage or my parenting or, whatever. Or there's another one, like maybe rejected, if you're on social media and a friend group, people that you used to be friends with or you thought you were friends with, they're all getting together and you knew that, you maybe knew they were going to be together, but then you're seeing all these pictures and you're not there. Or even if you were invited and you chose not to go, right? Did that trigger your anxiety or some feelings? And what's really underneath that is you feel rejected, right? So kind of digging up under those more surface emotions or more accessible, the things we talk about anxiety, we talk about sadness, we talk about anger, but we don't always talk about sort of the more granular, like deeper, more specific. And so for me, my emotions, like when I'm anxious, insecurity comes up for me a lot. Rejection, abandonment comes up for me a lot. Confusion. I like to know what I'm doing next. I like to know what the right answer is. And if I'm feeling confused or conflicted, that can make me anxious. Again, like to be in control. If I don't know which decision to make, I don't really feel like I'm in control. And another one is foolish. I don't like to feel foolish. I don't like to feel that I made the wrong choice. I consider myself an intelligent person, well educated, especially in my field. I'm not an expert on everything, but I am an expert in being a nurse, a lot of medical stuff, being a nurse coach, being a nurse aromatherapist. I do consider myself an expert. And so if I have a moment where I kind of feel foolish, like maybe I don't know, or I didn't know, or I should have known, those are all things that can trigger anxiety for me. So I think it's important. I think it's been really helpful for me to utilize that emotions wheel and to actually have more language, more words, like a glossary, a better emotions glossary, has really helped me, because it's important to name your emotions. And remember, like I said last week, don't sit there. Like if I'm anxious, the best thing I can do is move through it. And so I name it and then I go for a walk, like physically move through it can be really helpful. And then number 3, like figure out my trigger. Like what was it that caused me to feel that way, and make a decision about that later. So anyway, hope that was helpful. That is my experience with anxiety. There's a ton of emotions that we could talk about, but this is just what I experience in my life. So hope this was helpful to you. And I look forward to seeing you or you guys listening to me next time. Bye.